Okay, there you go. You're good. So,
But I should be,
your screen share. Your screen share. So it says your screen share right there. You're good.
Oh,
So
wait a
they
minute.
can see you.
I don't want to share this one.
You don't want to share that screen?
No.
Which screen do you want to share?
The one that's underneath there.
So you can grab this and move it.
Oh,
So
okay.
grab it and you can even put it over here if you really want.
Oh,
or down
okay.
over. And then just boop.
Yeah.
There you go. And they're still seeing that screen. Do you want me to double check though and make sure?
Because it's right here. Look, shouldn't it be? Oksana,
Yes.
hi. Which
Hi.
screen are you seeing? Are you
I'm seeing the R South Carolina listing documents in front of me only.
Okay. Okay, good. I just wondered.
Uh-huh.
Liz and I were having an argument about it.
It's okay. You can ask. I'll be on another side.
Okay. Well, you're the only one on
I
here.
know.
So that's good. I'm going to start.
And Carla, I'll be done at 2:30. I will need to go pick up kids. So like then I guess at 2:30 I'll be like out of the
That's
class.
good. We might
Maybe
be
we'll
done,
finish
so
even
it's up to
earlier. Maybe
you.
we'll finish earlier. I don't know.
So yeah.
Mhm.
And this is going to be true with your buyers too. For South Carolina, obviously you want to, this is like the agency relationships, brokerage relationships. You'll need this for your buyers as well. Are you listing or buying?
I have a buyers, so next week will be more kind of like what I need, but I would like to hear also about whatever like listing is
Okay.
required, because when we send our offer, I noticed that the listing agent had to send some kind of rejection form, and he
Yes.
said it's like by law a requirement, but I never heard of that before. So
Okay.
maybe it's
Okay.
something new.
It's kind of new. Yeah, I think it's like I think it's just been mandatory recently. So, but anyway, this is the South Carolina disclosure of real estate brokerage relationships. And you know, you have to use this with both sellers and buyers.
Mhm.
And you know, you have to explain it to them and then get their signature with a date.
Mhm.
Okay, so you don't need anything else on that one, do you? That's pretty self-explanatory. Then we'll go into the listing, the exclusive agency listing agreement. On this one, you're going to name them. This is the sellers would be in this line. And then the firm would be in this one. So Keller Williams Valentine. And then the start date for the period beginning on, and then since South Carolina doesn't have any, they still have to do clear cooperation, but they don't have a specific form or anything on the listing agreement that says it'll be coming soon, this such and such a date, and then it'll be active on another date. So in North Carolina, we have that on the forms, but in South Carolina, it's just this beginning date. So if you're using coming soon, then that date would be the beginning date. The coming soon date would be the beginning date. Okay.
Mhm.
If you're not using coming soon, then that date would be the date you're going to start, even if it's after the agreement was signed. Let's say you're going to wait a week, not use coming soon, then you would put the week later. This is the date that it's going to either be active or coming soon.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay.
What if you do firm exclusive?
Well, you're still going to have, then that would be the signature date,
Okay.
the date that the agreement goes into effect. Okay. And then actually, obviously you have to do an ending date as well. And make sure that you are in the right year. I get that a lot, that they put 2021 instead of 2022. And then fill out this as much as you can. Make sure you get the county, and then anything that you're going to keep with the property, you would put there. Okay. So that's that. The consent to disclosed dual agency, designated agency. It's kind of the same thing as the like the working with real estate agent that you just showed them the previous form. You'll have them initial here that they've received that the disclosure. It's so long of a name. Disclosure of real estate brokerage relationships. So you want them to acknowledge that they've received that. And then what are they going to give you permission to act as? Dual agent? It's either they're going to be considered or they're not. So it's either one of these two for dual agency. And then it's one of these two, the last two statements for designated agency. Okay. So don't have them initial all four because they're contradictory statements. And if they do say, oh, we'll allow designated dual agency, then they have to allow dual agency. Okay. Brokerage agrees to employ broker's best efforts. And then you're going to set the property price. You'll write it out here and then in numeric form, put it here. Okay. And then the total fee would be either $0, because you don't, unless you're going to get a set commission amount, you can put that there, but it's usually the percentage, which you would put in this box.
And you put the percentage for buyer and seller, let's say 6%
Exactly.
or 5%.
Right, right. It's for both. Okay, and there's four, if there's room for 4 owners or sellers to initial, and then you have to initial. And
And
that's
if it's LLC, it would be instead of owner, just LLC signing.
right, right. Yeah. With the LLC, you have to have that documentation, remember, to prove that they are valid as a signer. And then on the second page, and then if the property is sold within however many days, this is the same thing. It's like your protection period. If it's sold within 60 days, that you showed them the property, and then your agency agreement was expired, or they terminated it, and they went ahead and bought that house that you showed them, then you have the right to the commission amount. Okay, that's what that is. The compensation of other brokerages. So this is where you put the buyer agency. So if you're doing 6% on the first page, usually it's 3, a lot of times it's 2.5 now and lower, but only on the buyer agency. Okay. We don't cooperate with transaction brokerage or sub agency. Okay. So the only blank that should be filled in is the buyer agency. Okay. And then obviously the escrow agent will hold the earnest money, and just have them, all these ones in the bold are for, they are important statements. Okay. Default, the broker will not disperse earnest money to either party until both parties have executed an agreement authorizing that disbursement. Otherwise, it goes to court, and all that it goes to court.
Carla, our company does not hold earnest money, right?
Correct. No, we do not hold earnest money. So it has to go to the attorney. Okay. And then this gives you the right to put a for sale sign on the property, and what what our duties are, actually, you know, do the fiduciary duty and keep everything, you know, not a material fact to yourself. Don't share that. And then you have that liability limitation. This is about the claims that go against you. So that's just legal stuff that actually Saber would really go into. But it's the, you know what it is. It's
Yeah, boring legal stuff.
sure, yeah. And then the next page is about the owner's duties. What they have to do, they have to make the home available, and permit inspections and all that good stuff. To permit the broker to incur, usually this is a 0. The owners to permit the broker to incur on behalf of the owner reasonable expenses for repairs, utilities, or similar expenses not to exceed. For
do the broker pay for any expenses for the repairs?
I've never heard of anybody doing that. This is usually a 0. But I don't know, you can discuss it with them and see if they want to disperse, you know, sometimes, what have I seen? The only thing I've seen as far as repairs and inspections are maybe the, what have I seen?
Home warranty, I
home
only saw
warranty
home
that the
warranties when
brokers-
broker may cover, right?
Yeah.
From
yeah.
the commission, that's it, nothing else.
Right, and then it would be reimbursed at the closing. They would reimburse them at the closing. Okay. And then you would get your commission out of that, out of the closing, whatever their profit is on that. So it's all this, you know, just kind of go over, you're supposed to go over this, you know, with every owner, every seller. And then this is about the property disclosures that they're gonna do it honestly and to the best of their knowledge, or face the consequences. And then the disclosure that you're not allowed to share any of the personal information. Obviously, you have to share the material facts, but not any personal information, especially about how much they want for the house, or how much they'll take for the house, et cetera, for that. And then the South Carolina taxes obviously would be split up at closing, like they always are. Number 13 is the multiple listing service. In the notice, it says initial only one option. So this is the one that they would initial if they want to enter it into the MLS. Obviously, if it's going to be a firm exclusive, they would do number 2. Okay. And the lockbox, of course, is they agree or don't agree to put the lockbox on there. And then this other one about the other offers, pretty self-explanatory on that. And then the marketing the property after accepted offers. You stop all the marketing, obviously, unless it's requested in writing by the owner to do so. That would be the under contract show option. So I guess you would get them to write that down or to send you an email so that you have documentation that they want it under contract show option. Okay. They don't have any control over the brokers, the commission rates. And the owner agrees that the property they'll maintain the property until closing, obviously. Okay. then this is just the agreement to sell. Obviously the lead-based paint disclosures, and a mediation clause, if any of dispute comes out, it'll go into the court and to the NRA, NAR, I should say, NRA. What's that? The Rifle Association. And then you're not going to discriminate, etc. The enforcement of the agreement is enforceable by them signing it. Obviously, you can't. Oh, I thought you were going to say something. This salaries that we're not responsible for obtaining that sex offender and the criminal information about the neighborhood, but you can direct them to that, the sex offender site.
Mhm.
No, the audio, the videos and all that are going to be the owners, not responsible, but it'll be in their possession. And then you want to remind them to shut off all the
Recordings?
the recordings, right? The sound stuff. I think they can do the video recording, but they can't do the audio.
Mhm.
And then that's the same thing. That you can or cannot, if they want you to, or they don't want you to, disclose potential surveillance equipment. So, and then other terms and conditions, whatever they may be. Okay. And then obviously you want them to sign with the date and time, and that's usually through DocuSign. Remember to include their email and their phone number, and then down over here is the owner's mailing address. All three of those have to be on every listing agreement and buyer's agency agreement as well.
Mhm.
So they have to sign and date it, and then you put the real estate firm, it's us, and then you sign and date it. Okay.
Does it matter that we put like Keller William Ballantyne Realty area or just Keller William Ballantyne?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I usually just put Keller Williams Ballantyne.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on the listing?
Mm-mm. No.
Okay. We'll be through this quickly.
Good, good.
Where did my template go? Okay, and this is also on every buyer and seller for South Carolina. They still have the wire fraud warning as a separate document.
I
So
didn't see that.
yeah, you didn't see this?
Is it just for sellers? They need
No,
to sign, or for
No,
buyers?
buyers too. You need to have this in there.
But do you have to sign it before you submit an offer? This wire fraud warning,
You don't
or
know, not before. You don't have to have that before.
okay, all right. So only
That's
when
the
you
only
go
time
under,
that it'll be
only when you
permitted.
go under contract, then they have to sign
Definitely.
this.
Yes, definitely they have to sign it.
Good, because we didn't sign it when we were
Yeah,
submitting.
so make sure you get that in there.
Okay,
And that's pretty, yeah, because in North Carolina, it's already included in the agency agreements.
you're right. Mhm.
But not in South Carolina, so we'll need that. And also in in South Carolina, there's a separate form if you're going into a dual agency agreement, or and the other one is the designated agency agreement. So if you are the buyer and you're also the listing agent, obviously you need to fill this out and have
Mhm.
them sign this, okay? So it's between the buyer and Keller Williams Ballantyne, and the seller and Keller Williams Valentine, and then your property address. And then this explains the dual agency again. And so the seller and buyer will sign it. And then you would sign here. So the real estate, us, Keller Williams Valentine, and then the broker would sign here. So that's if you're going into dual agency.
Mhm.
So obviously you can't do that until you've put an offer in. Same thing with the designated agency. It would be the same thing up here, the buyer and the company and the seller and the company with the property address. And then on the second page, here is the difference, the representation. The supervisory broker would be Sabra.
Mhm.
And then designate the licensee designated to represent the seller would be someone from this office. And then the one designated to represent the buyer would be someone at this office such as you. So if you show them a house that has that's listed with this firm, you'll need a designated agency agreement. Okay.
Mhm.
And again, have them both sign and then you sign as well. That's a big difference between North and South Carolina. It's the same thing with the FHA, VA, and HUD addendum. It's a little bit longer of a title. Basically, this is if your buyer is going into FHA or VA. Okay, and then it's the same thing. You would have them both sign just so the seller knows and make sure they initial. Okay. And the lead-based paint is basically the same. Make sure the seller initials A and B with a check mark in one of these boxes on each one. And then the buyer would initial C, D, and E and check one of the boxes, okay? And the way it's signed, so the seller and the seller sign here, and then the agent. It's kind of a weird way that they have this set up, I think. But the
Mhm.
buyers go down here and the sellers come up or are up here, and then both agents are in the middle.
Yep.
Okay. So that's, any questions about that?
No.
No. Okay. The property disclosure statement is a little bit different as well. Obviously the address there, and then your owner is going to initial each page, and then they fill it out as best that they know how. Obviously, you know that they have to answer it in the most honest way they know how, and then make sure they check what the how the water is provided, and the water supply and the disposal, or the water pipes if they know. If they don't know, they would check unknown. Okay. Same thing with the roof. It's a yes, no, or no representation. And they want to fill out all this as much as they can.
And no representation, Carla, is only when they had a tenant and they were not living in a house, or they can just choose no representation just because they don't want to answer.
Yeah, that always sets up a red flag when there's all no representation. But a lot of times it is from an investor that bought the house and, just bought it and then turned around to sell it again, or to rent it out like that. Yeah, definitely no representation would apply to that.
Mhm.
But,
If they were living
they
there
tell
and put no representation, then it's kind of.
yeah. I mean, if you have the owner of the house that's been there for 20 odd years and they're putting no representation, you just kind of say, wait a minute, because that's kind of putting up a red flag. Make sure they put the year that it was built here. It's kind of hidden. and the roof, when was that installed?
Oh yeah, it is confusing a little bit on the side, right? For the building.
Yeah, it is a little bit. But there's 5 pages here. So this is about the zoning and the HOA stuff. And then obviously fill that out as best that you could. Whether the property is subject to a government or home, if this is the HOA, yes or no. It says if it's yes, you must complete the attached residential property disclosure statement. That should be included with every one of these listings, because it's at one time it was a separate document, but now it's all inclusive in the property disclosures. Okay, so even if there's not one there, it should be attached. Okay, and hopefully this one is, and it is. So
I see.
yeah, so it's this, and if it's nothing, you put NA and then have them sign.
So when no HOA, you still complete that form, but you just put no to everything.
Yeah. Or NA, if there's no charges or anything like that, put NA. Then you could just leave it blank. But the owner signs up here on page 5, and then the purchaser would sign down here, and then the owner signs the addendum as well. Okay. So this one, the property disclosures, they don't have the MOG in South Carolina, so you don't have to worry about that, the mineral oil and gas rights. And again, with all of the buyers and sellers, you need to put the septic or sewer. Okay. And it's the septic or sewer and water. So make sure it's the right one, because you're going to call about the water connection and the sewer connection on these.
So it's the same form for South Carolina, exactly the same, right?
Yes, it's the same form.
Which are water to call, like a septic or sewer and water. So you call for water to check that there is a city water, and you call to check if it's city sewer or septic, right?
Yes. Usually they're the same. I've come across a couple that aren't. Some of them have city water, but a septic tank.
Yes.
So if they're different, you're just going to have to put both of them on here. Okay. But just make sure you fill that out properly. If it's on city water, obviously you need to put the date that you verified it, who you spoke to, and what company. Okay. If it's a septic tank, then you would just sign the appropriate one. If you have a copy of the septic permit, and you have it there, and you're going to put it in the command, then check this one, that you have a copy of the septic permit, and it shows how many bedrooms are allowed. Okay.
And if it's well water, then what do you?
Then you would put that the city is not connected and not available.
And the other part is the community water, right? Sometimes they have like a community water, not the city, but still serviced by community.
Right. And that's more for townhomes and that it's a community water. And you can just put on there that you verified for the well too. I don't know why she doesn't.
So actually I have one under contract, the townhouse, and it's the first time having townhouse. And they did mention an HOA that they pay water bills. So most likely it's going to be community water when I call them.
Yeah. Yes, that would be community. And then you would put the HOA provider there.
As a utility provider. Okay.
Yes.
But I still need to call them to check with the Mecklenburg city,
No,
right?
if it's under the community, then you don't
Mhm.
have to call the city.
Okay,
If, as long as the HOA pays it, then
Yeah.
that's who provides it, basically.
okay.
Okay. And then if you're the listing agent, you have to sign it. But if you're the buyer's agent, you have to sign it and your buyer has to sign it. Okay. It's to show them that you've done your job and you verified it. Listing agent, they pretty much verify it themselves in the property disclosures. So that's why the the buyer or the owners don't have to sign. And then the second page is just the instructions. Okay. Again, if you're selling a lot, you want to put the lot disclosure in there. Again, this is the same in North and South Carolina because it's an office document. Okay. And this, it's like a property disclosure, except it's just for land. Any questions on that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So it would be the same in command. Once you select South Carolina listing or buyer, all those papers will come out, right?
Right, right. Yep. Obviously, this is the, if they want to terminate the listing.
Mhm.
When you terminate the listing, you have to also withdraw it from the listing agreement. And only Sabra can do that.
Mhm.
And then this one is, that's when you want to give the buyer the notice that it's the buyer has accepted an offer on their property.
We don't have that for, we
Huh?
don't have that in North Carolina,
Nope, we don't have this in North Carolina.
only for South Carolina. Okay, we need to do.
Right.
Buyer has accepted an offer.
So this is when
Okay.
they've accepted that offer from the seller.
So it's not, it's kind of like a acknowledgement for seller to tell that you are under contract and that form need to be, who
Yeah.
need to sign that form? Buyer?
Yeah, yeah, which is
So
kind of weird.
basically, okay, when I'm a listing agent and I'm receiving all the offers from buyers,
Right.
then let's say we chose one that we like and we told buyers that we're accepting your offer, then the buyer will have to fill this form and send it to us to tell that they accepted it.
I believe that's correct. I thought this one was the rejection of the offers. Do you remember that one? That
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. That's what we received from the listing agent, a rejection form.
Right.
Saying that seller didn't choose us.
Yeah,
And they send us rejection form.
right. Let me see if I can find that one.
Mhm.
It's a rejection of. Yeah, it's this one. So
Mhm.
this is the
That's what I received, right?
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
received. And I think the listing agent was filling this form. If you go, if you scroll it down, I think,
Yeah.
not even seller had to sign it, the broker.
Yeah, just the broker. Yeah. Okay.
So that form makes sense, but the other form, that buyer,
I know. Yeah, that one I not
I don't
real
know, it's
quite
but-
sure of.
Mhm. Buyer notice of accepted.
An
Maybe
offer
it's
on their property at.
this form must be used to meet notice of buyer has accepted an offer on their property. Maybe it should be saying seller has accepted the offer.
That's kind of what I thought.
It's okay, we can see it at some point.
Let's see what number this is. This doesn't say a,
That's a rejection form, that's what,
yeah. It doesn't have a number on it, though. I don't see it. Let's look and see what Form 505 is.
mhm.
Oh, this is the contingency one.
Mhm.
So, let's see. So this is, yeah, if they have obviously, you know what a contingency, if they have another property to sell before they, you know, before they can actually buy that other house.
Mhm.
So the contingency agreement is number 505.
Mhm.
Okay, so, and then this one, it says a redacted copy of the contract is not attached. If buyer receives Form 505, then a redacted contract must be attached. I'd have to ask Saber about this one.
Yeah.
This
This
one
is a
doesn't make
little bit
any sense to me.
confusing. Mhm. Yeah, whenever you find out, just let us know.
I will.
Not like we need it right away, but.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. But they're not gonna do a contingency, are they, your buyers? Do they have a house to sell?
No.
No, so that's good. So, yeah, that there's not much to the South Carolina listings. Do you want, we have a lot of time. Do you want to go through the buyers or no?
Oh, buyers?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can quickly. Because we're all done right now with the listings?
Oh, we are.
Okay,
Yep,
good.
and you're still the only one on here, so.
Perfect, then let's do quickly, maybe like few documents on the buyer side, and that will be perfect. Maybe at least one. Because some of them are repetitive, right? Like a exclusive agreement is the same, right? Like disclosure the same.
Well, the
So we just,
buyer, this is a buyer agency.
the buyer says new. Mhm.
Yeah. So, this is what you'll have to have. Did you have them sign this already?
Mhm.
Oh, you did. Okay.
I did, but we can kind of like quickly go through just a little bit.
So this one, I mean, that's pretty
I signed it
self-explanatory.
because like someone sent me like as example form who already had like South Carolina experience. So I was just kind of, quickly doing similar.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So usually it's going to be option 2 that they're going to sign on page 2.
Mhm.
And then the buy will be paid by the cooperating broker.
Mhm.
And then this wouldn't be applicable because you don't want to do a retainer fee
Mhm.
or a service fee.
A
So
service
that would
fee,
not be applicable. Term of agency obviously would be the beginning, it has to have a beginning date and an end
Mhm.
date.
Mhm.
Okay, the same thing here is that they've received that South Carolina disclosure of brokerage relationships. So they need to initial here, and then again, this is the dual agency and designated agency agreement. Okay. This is the buyer's identity notification if they do or don't want their name.
Do they need to put does or does not? Because like if you send in an offer, you do put their like first and last name, their
I know.
identity.
So hopefully
that-
they do want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same way then when you under contract, you send it to like attorney and you copy listing agent. So
Right.
you do mention their like names.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know how you would go about.
If you're not disclosing.
Yeah. Any contingencies that you would have there.
Unless it's LLC and you can go through LLC, but you don't need to tell like who are they as a people behind LLC.
Right, right.
Maybe that's the only way it would apply.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So they sign it and date it. Make sure you have their email, their phone number, and their current mailing address. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they sign that, and then you sign obviously the company, and then you sign it and date it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And initial each page.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on that?
No.
It's pretty easy.
We go so fast and I like it.
I know, right?
And the last one,
if you want me to slow down, let me know.
no, I'm actually giving the compliment to you, Carla. I like it for
Okay.
sure. It wasn't like kind of like a hint to slow down.
Thank you. Yeah,
No.
I know. I don't, you don't need to hear all of it.
Yeah, I mean, like if any question, I just ask,
Exactly, exactly. Again, make
So
sure.
this is the only form that we didn't sign with the offer, but I figured it out.
Okay.
It's okay, right?
Yeah.
We didn't win anyways.
Yeah,
So,
you need to get that in there though.
yeah.
Okay. And then, what are they buying? Just a house?
House in South Carolina.
So there's 3 of them here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Residential and then residential.
This is for a condo.
So
And
if
this
we
is-
ever buy townhouse or condo, I will have to use that agreement. If lot, then lot. If regular house, then
Exactly.
agreement. Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Let's just do the
You can
residential.
do townhouse on this one as well.
Townhouse
Would
is
be just
okay
a
to do.
general one. Residential.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
But only condo and only condo would be the second form.
Right.
But they don't have it in North Carolina like that,
Nope.
right? Separation,
No, they
only
don't.
lots and the
Yeah.
houses and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a little bit different. It is actually more papers, right? With South Carolina.
A
It looks
little
like
bit more because you have the wire fraud and the dual and
and dual designated form. Mhm.
So
But if
obviously,
I'm on a buyer side, Carla, and I'm designated agent and I'm not the listing agent at the same time, then I don't need to do designated agency agreement form, right? If I'm just
you buy a house, unless you buy from someone who's in this office.
then I will need to do that form additional.
Designated.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this one, so this is obviously the buyers and the sellers' names. These are all just definitions.
Mhm.
It kind of tells you what all these terms mean. There's a blank space, and I know Sabre had said you don't need to put the closing attorney in here, but I've come across when I've done a sale.
I put it there, McNutt and Clemens, when I was.
Yeah.
submitting.
I would put it there just to be, so there's no, they don't return the agreement.
Mhm.
And then if they are South Carolina real estate licensee, the buyer or the seller, you check that.
Mhm. So that's also something new that we don't have in North Carolina, right?
Right.
Kind of people just put an MLS if they are agent/owner, but
Right.
here you have it in a form. Mhm.
Yes. And also on this form is that they acknowledge receipt of that brokerage relationship thing.
Mhm.
So make sure your buyer's initial here,
Mhm.
okay? And then the seller should initial there. And the purchase price and how is it going to be funded? Cash or whatever, and it's if it's cash, then the verification of cash.
So
Is-
if it's conventional, it would be not finance, but it would be combination of finance and cash, right? When it's
Correct.
conventional with down payment cash money.
Right, exactly. Yep. And then this is if it is or isn't contingent upon the sale of the,
Then that form.
yeah, then you'd have to put that form number on there. The contingency form. Okay, then to put the property address and fill this out as much as you can. and this is kind of like hidden here. It agrees that no personal property will transfer as part of the sale. This is for if you want to attach or if you want to include the washer, dryer, refrigerator, or something like that. So that's at the bottom of page 1.
Where would you put it? Agree to no personal property, and then you put kitchen, refrigerator, or washer and dryer.
Right in these last 2 lines.
Mhm.
It's kind of hidden in there, you know, you kind of think that's part of the property address, but it's not. You need to be aware of that, okay? Again, the closing date,
Mhm.
and this would be what the names are going to be on the deeds.
And it's interesting for closing day, they specified 5 p.m. timing.
Yeah.
We only have that with due diligence in North Carolina, right? Like 5
Exactly,
p.m.
yeah.
But here it's for actually
For closing, yeah.
for closing.
How many attorneys are open after 5 anyway?
Mhm.
So this is where you're going to do the earnest money. And then, you know, in North Carolina, it's just that one little line that says, how is it going to be distributed? It's going to be paid as follows. And then is it going to be accompany the offer? So if it's not, you would put 0. And then the amount will be paid by 6 p.m. on such and such a date.
So earnest money in South Carolina, you have an option to pay right away with the offer. I mean, if it's accepted, or to choose any day you want when you want to pay earnest money.
I think it still needs to be within a reasonable amount of time.
I see.
Like within
kind of like
5 days.
5.
I wouldn't go any farther than 5 days.
Mhm.
So, and then how are you going to present it?
So you only put one-time amount after the word total. Let's say you put 10,000 as
Yeah,
example.
Yeah.
And then if you choose to pay those 10,000 with the offer, then you write again 10,000
Right here.
accompanied, which doesn't mean that it's additional 10,000. It's the same 10,000. Or
it's the
you can
same
do,
10,000.
or
Yeah.
Carla, you can maybe like break in half the 10,000 and put, let's say 5,000 with offer, and then 5,000 at 6 p.m. at some day, right? Can you do like kind of
Yes.
like?
Yep. This is the total amount, and how it's
Yeah.
going to be distributed will be divided between these two. So these two down the next 2 lines here should equal the 10,000.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to my offer, what I wrote there.
Yes. Yeah.
To check what it was there.
I know. It's kind of, well, especially if you're not used to it, it can be a little bit confusing.
So tempting to check.
And then this is the name here would be the escrow agent.
Mhm.
It would be the same as the attorney.
Attorney.
It doesn't have to be.
Mhm.
Okay, but we don't, it's not, obviously it's not here because we don't hold it.
Mhm.
All right, then there's this bold paragraph about the earnest money and the disputes, okay? So if there is a dispute and it has to go to court, there needs to be, the parties agree that such and such shall be paid to the escrow agent by the parties as compensation for the escrow agent before he initiates court proceedings.
Mhm.
Okay, so Sabre wants us to have at least $90 written in this blank.
$90 regardless, right?
Yeah. So make sure that's in there.
Mhm.
All right. And then this is the cost.
90 or 95, because I wrote 95 in my.
That's fine.
It's
She
fine,
said at
right?
least 90.
At
So
least
you
90.
can do
Mhm.
95, you can do some, I've seen up to, $150, $200, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Okay. But at least 90.
Yep.
And then all the fees that you encounter with the transfers and all that at closing are the sellers. You can have them pay for it, or it'll be the buyers?
Buyer's transaction cost, like you will check.
Yeah, yes. If no box is checked, these costs will be added to the seller's transaction costs.
Okay, so you better check that box. Mhm.
Yeah, well, unless you want the seller to pay for it.
Not in this market, Carla, maybe
Right?
later.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, then you would want to check the buyer. And then if you want them to pay any of the other closing costs, then put that amount here. If not, it should be 0.
0. Mhm. Yeah, I opened like side by side my offer that I wrote, and I'm comparing both.
Oh,
So-
good. Okay. Good. And then the financing, it is contingent. It is contingent on them receiving financing. And what is it going to be? 30, 15-year, and then whatever you fill out. Who's it going to be by? Okay.
Mhm.
And if you change the lender, it says in here, if you change the lender, you must notify the seller within writing, within so many, and then just put, 3 calendar days or whatever. Okay,
I didn't fill that form at all.
you didn't,
I mean, I put it's contingent on like 30 years, but then I didn't fill the part saying that I would notify it if we change lender.
okay, yeah. I'm not sure if all that is ever filled out because, most of the time.
Because like, when people go under contract, then they start to kind of like see like out of 1 or 2 lenders who they can choose
Right.
like the best, and then if
Yeah.
they find a better rate, then but I guess then it's extra form to send.
Yeah. And here you put the lender's name and notice it says may change in here. So, it may change. And then what kind of, it's conventional, you would put conventional.
And if you have a FHA, then addendum need to be just like in North
Yes.
Carolina attached.
Right. That FHA, it's FHA, VA, HUD addendum here in South Carolina, so. And then you're either going to do the repair procedure, and then you have to deliver the all the repairs and inspections, and the request will be completed and delivered to the seller by 6 p.m. on such and such a date. So you want to make sure you give enough time to have all the inspections done.
So do you usually put like what, 14 days there?
Something like that. As I don't know how backed up the inspectors are now. But yeah, definitely at least 14 days. And then
For South Carolina, you can do contingency on repair request, on appraisal, on all kind of stuff, on finance, right? Financial.
Yeah.
And then if something that you select as a like contingency, then if something doesn't work, you can terminate contract, right? Based on that contingency.
Correct. Yeah.
And you can return your earnest money then.
Yeah. So the good thing is there's no due diligence in South Carolina. So yet.
But they said that they will add it, Carla, from
They're
June,
adding
I
it.
think,
Yeah.
right?
There's a webinar on April 28th, I think, with
Attend
South Carolina.
that? You're going to attend that webinar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And then no later than 6 p.m. on another date, the seller shall deliver notice agreeing or not agreeing to make repairs. So the seller, they don't have to include, seller paid requests do not include the following items: home maintenance, flooring, fogged windows, which is very common in,
like a broken seal windows, they don't have to fix it, right?
Yep. So all this grandfathered code issues, landscaping,
So
preventive
basically, this is what they are not going to fix, to tell
Right.
the
Right.
buyers, right?
Home
That those
improvements.
items are not going to be covered.
Yeah. So so they don't have to fix those. Now, I've asked for fogged windows to be repaired and they were repaired. So
It's never, it's never hurt to ask, right? Some people would
exactly.
fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so I would allow them, another week maybe to give them time to go over all this and get their quotes.
Mhm.
So this date would be about a week later than the first date.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
then
then they're
all
saying
these
something
days.
about 2 calendar days, and if buyers falls to accept, right? So-
Yes, yeah. So if they don't do it within 2 calendar days of this date, you
Mhm.
can either accept it in its present condition or
Terminate
negotiate
contract. Mhm.
contract or terminate. Okay.
Mhm.
And if they both, none of them respond, then they agree to sell the property as is.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's one of the options.
Mhm.
And this is for repairs, or there is a due diligence option. Again, they want to have a beginning date. Oh, it begins on the effective date and it ends on this date.
Mhm.
And again, it's all this other stuff. And so with due diligence, if the buyer terminates during that time, then you put a fee. So you don't pay them right away. You only pay them if it's terminated if you want to check the due diligence. I don't know what you.
So due diligence, you only will pay if you terminating, and that's something that they will keep as a kind of like a fee for being under contract and not selling the
Correct.
house, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because earnest money, if anything fails by contingency, they're not getting anything, right?
Right. Right.
Even those I've heard sometimes seller try to keep earnest money.
Yeah.
Have you heard, Carla, of that?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yes.
is any way to return money, or it's tough to?
It usually goes into court and then Sabre has to, fight for us. So
Did you have it happen?
I've never had it happen. No.
Good. So,
I know.
right.
So then the third option, of course, is as is.
Yeah.
And as is doesn't mean that you're not going to get inspections. You still have until another date that you put in here to be able to do all the inspections. But
Mhm.
you've
So
agreed
Mhm.
you've agreed to buy it as is.
But you put the date up to what date you want to do all the inspections, right? That's
Correct. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then obviously the seller grants permission to connect utilities, pay for the utilities, to safely connect and operate the utilities during the inspections. Hopefully it's still on, but
Mhm.
definitely check that box. Okay. And this little statement, it's pretty much given that the buyer will hold harmless, indemnify, pay damages and attorney fees to seller if the inspector broke something. So if the inspector broke something, then the buyer has to fix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you need to mark anything, or it's just saying there?
Well, no, this is just a statement.
Yeah, it's just a statement. Okay.
Obviously, this is important now that the appraised value, is it contingent or is it not contingent on the appraised value? Okay.
So what do you choose? Like,
Well, I know I'm seeing a lot of this. It's not contingent right
you
now.
see a lot
because
of South Carolinas with not contingent, right? So people just pay the difference, right? Gap
Yeah, I mean,
appraisal.
that's the market now.
Mhm.
But a couple years ago, when I did a transaction, I would make it contingent.
So Carla, do you see right now a lots of South Carolina under contract, the offers where people put everything as is, no contingency, no contingency, no contingency kind of offers?
Right, yes, yes.
Mhm.
It's amazing.
And but you don't see that many like due diligence given money, right? Just the earnest
Right.
money, just
Right,
good amount for earnest money and as is everything, right?
It's been, I don't see, not like due diligence. I see a big jump in the due diligence of monies now, but earnest money is pretty normal.
Like what, 5,000,
1%.
10,000?
Yeah. Like a 1% of the
Of-
property.
Ah, okay. I mean, for South Carolina, you're saying, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So not like the 40,000, 50,000.
Right, right.
That-
And that's usually due diligence money. So they're willing to risk that much. That's pretty,
Mhm.
and there's no due diligence in South Carolina, so.
Okay, so you just see normal earnest money and all wait stuff, right? For
Yes,
contract.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, then, so you choose, that,
Mhm.
which one?
But if you choose appraised value as like a X at the first option on the
Yeah.
level 10, then if amount comes short, the buyer has rights either walk away or if seller can meet that amount, but if
Yep.
seller is choose not to, then you can terminate, right?
To terminate, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, and then obviously, if it's not contingent, they would agree to pay
The difference.
the difference, correct? And that's usually in cash because the
Yeah.
lender won't
Mhm.
give you that money for it.
Mhm.
And then this is for the termite inspection.
Mhm.
Okay, if it's contingent, then you need to get a termite inspection. Okay.
So
And
it's
then
it's also waived here, right? No contingent, right? For the
Right.
for stronger offer.
Right, right. And then obviously you want to that they have the property surveyed.
Mhm.
So, and then the title examination and all that,
Mhm,
they'll pay for,
mhm.
that's a closing thing.
Mhm.
Okay, so.
Then home warranty also NA, right? 0 NA.
Yep. Unless you want it.
No.
And then, of course, if the property is damaged or if it burnt,
Fire happen. Mhm.
yeah, so they can either accept it as it is, and the sellers can assign the insurance money to them to repair it, or they can terminate, or they can choose to repair it. So that's pretty self-explanatory. So make sure that if it's applicable, hopefully it is, that they do receive that. They've got the property disclosure.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So
And
you check, yeah, I checked it there, right? So because if you have a property disclosure, they have to see it before submitting an offer
correct.
and signing it. Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes, especially like with an estate sale that they don't have to reveal, or they don't have to have that, obviously.
Short sale, right? Or like foreclosure, that could be like
Right.
another option. Mhm.
Right. And so this check mark would be appropriate when the buyer and
Mhm.
seller agree that the seller will not complete and provide a closing disclosure or a property disclosure.
Mhm.
Okay. It's condition disclosure statement. That's CDS.
Mhm.
Obviously, and then the same thing with the lead-based paint, and then the sex offender,
So
they
sex offender and criminal, you can tell them where they can look at information
Right.
just for themselves, but you don't have to like provide anything.
Right.
It's not like they will tell that, oh, we find out that someone living nearby and you didn't tell us, right? So like
Right.
brokers are protected by that.
Yes, yeah. And then this is about the trust account for the earnest money.
So usually you choose like may not place the earnest money
I
to
would
make
choose
interest.
may. No, they
May?
may choose it. They can put the earnest money. Yeah. I know, they may.
I chose may not when I submitted offer, but
So when, usually it is an interest-bearing account. I don't know how much weight that holds, to be honest with you. If the escrow agent puts it in their account and it's interest-bearing, what are you gonna do about it?
is that question more for like McNutt and Clemens to ask like if their escrow account, if they make any percentage on it or not?
Right, is it an interest-bearing account?
Okay.
Parties agree that the broker, if the buyer's earnest money is deposited into an interest-bearing account, parties agree that the broker will retain all interest in said account, and may contribute some or all of it to a charitable enterprise. So
Yeah, it's okay. I don't think like, I mean, unless you're high C, no one probably will even ask about it.
exactly, yeah.
But I
And
had
then
one
again-
high C client who was reading every single word and it was like so annoying.
Oh, I bet. Whew. Obviously, then the income tax would be distributed, prorated now. Any adjustments? That's kind of like any rents or anything like that, other assessments, special assessments and that. Okay, and then the mediation clause. And these are just all of the broker disclaimers and compensation. And any other, the attachments and other contingencies would be like the contingency form. And other, like a repair request and all that would be here. And we have that on the offer to purchase in North Carolina as well, except it's little check boxes on page 11, yeah. I don't see this very often, but there could be an expiration of offer. It's usually in North Carolina, it's on the additional provisions addendum, but here it's on here like it is, the expiration of offer, okay? You don't have to fill that out if you don't care when it expires. Okay, obviously the buyer signs it. And then the seller signs it. Don't put their addresses on it.
Yeah. So like we don't put, is it okay to put email? Because sometimes the DocuSign will grab that email of the client and will put it there.
Right. Email is okay, but don't put their address.
But don't put an address, right? Neither North Carolina or South Carolina.
Correct. Yeah.
So we went through almost, right, everything.
And then the buyer's agency company, and then the seller's agents. If it's a for sale by owner, if you're buying, put NA here or put FSBO here, so I know not to look for that. Okay. You have to go?
And no. Carla, tell me, like Keller William Valentine, when we have South Carolina, the office code is 10902.
I believe that's correct. Let me look it up real quick.
Instead of C13291 for North Carolina. I just wanted to make sure that I put the right one.
It's 10902.
Okay, that's what it should be right there for
Yes.
LLR office code.
Correct.
And then South Carolina license of the agent instead of North Carolina.
Correct. Yep.
So it looks like I did good job for my first offer.
Good.
Not
Good,
so
good,
many
good.
mistakes. Good. Perfect. Thank you so much. We went through everything. I like it.
You're welcome. And everything else is pretty much the same.
And
Don't forget to fill out the professional services disclosure. Do you have that?
What is that?
That's, the-
Ah, I didn't see that form. That's similar
And-
to
and that form is also in KWB resources.
KW resources. I don't have that form. And what this form about for?
This is, it's the same thing as the North Carolina one.
Ah,
Who orders it, you know, if they waive it or select it, the attorney, property insurance, home inspection.
Carla, could you please just forward it to me or maybe like send it by email and I'll
Okay.
save it
Yeah.
in my
and just
folder?
Pages, you have to sign it and they have to sign it.
Uh-huh, perfect. Mhm.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you. Perfect.
And you already have, oh, shoot. What was it that I said? Oh, the septic and sewer, you have to do
Yeah,
that.
I have that. Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
I didn't mean to do that. Let me get back to it. Is that it? Do you have any other questions?
No, it was informative. I got everything I need.
And obviously, you know, I'm here all the time, so
I know where to find you.
you know where to find me.
Yeah. All right. Thank
Yeah.
you, Carla.
You're
Okay,
welcome. Okay, have a good day.
you too. Have a nice day. Thank you,
Okay.
Carla. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.